"Hush," Jill says. And through the cracks in the unplaned boards I could distinctly see and hear what was going on without being seen. Esther's wrists were firmly tied, and the twisted rope was fastened to a strong iron staple in a heavy wooden beam above near the fireplace. Here she stood on a bench, her arms tightly drawn above her head. Her back and shoulders were perfectly bare. Behind her stood Old Master, cowhide in hand, pursuing his barbarous work with all manner of harsh, coarse, and tantalizing epithets. He was cruelly deliberate, and protracted the torture as one who was delighted with the agony of his victim. Again and again he drew the hateful scourge through his hand, adjusting it with a view of dealing the most pain-giving blow his strength and skill could inflict. Poor Esther had never before been severely whipped. Her shoulders were plump and tender. Each blow, vigorously laid on, brought screams from her as well as blood. "Have mercy! Oh, mercy!" she cried. "I won't do so no more." But her piercing cries seemed only to increase his fury. The red mark stops, but Rabbit sweeps on to the end of the chapter. The whole scene, with all its attendant circumstances, was revolting and shocking to the last degree, and when the motives for the brutal castigation are known, language has no power to convey a just sense of its dreadful criminality. After laying on I dare not say how many stripes, Old Master untied his suffering victim. When let down, she could scarcely stand. From my heart I pitied her. And child as I was, and new to such scenes, the shock was tremendous. I was terrified, hushed, stunned, and bewildered. The scene here described was often repeated, for Edward and Esther continued to meet, notwithstanding all efforts to prevent their meeting. Skeeter turns to Jill and slaps her sharply as a child would on the chest. "Don't hush me, you cunt." "I wanted to hear the passage. How'd it turn you on, cunt?" I liked it the way Harry read it, with feeling. "Fuck your white feelings." "Hey, easy," Rabbit says helplessly, seeing that violence is due. Skeeter is wild. Keeping his one hand on her shoulder as a brace, with the other he reaches to her throat and rips the neck of her white dress forward. The cloth is tough. Jill's head snaps far forward, but the rip is heard. She recoils back into the sofa, her eyes expressionless, her little tough-tipped tits bounce in the torn V. Rabbit's instinct is not to rescue her, but to shield Nelson. He drops the book on the cobbler's bench and puts his body between the boy and the sofa. "Go upstairs." Nelson, stunned, bewildered, has risen to his feet. He moans, "He'll kill her, Dad." His cheeks are flushed, his eyes are sunk. "No, he won't. He's just high. She liked it." "Oh, shit! Shit!" the child repeats in desperation. His face caves into crying. "Hey there, baby Chuck," Skeeter calls. "You want to whip me, right?" Skeeter hops up, does a brittle, bewitched dance, strips off his shirt so violently one cuff button flies off and strikes the lampshade. His skinny chest, naked, is stunning in its articulation. Every muscle sharp in its attachment to the bone. The whole torso carved in a jungle wood darker than shadow and more dense than ivory. Rabbit has never seen such a chest except on a crucifix. "What next?" Skeeter shouts. "Want to whup my bum, right? Here it is." His hands have undone his fly button and are on his belt. But Nelson has fled to the room. His sobbing comes downstairs, diminishing. "Okay, that's enough," Rabbit says. "Read a little bitty bit more," Skeeter begs. "You get carried away. That damn child of yours thinks he owns this cunt." "Stop calling her a cunt." "Man, wasn't this Jesus gave her one?" Skeeter cackles. "You're horrible," Jill tells him, drawing the torn cloth together. He flips one piece aside. "Moo!" "Harry, help me." "Read the book, Chuck. I'll be good." Read me the next paper clip. Above them, Nelson's footsteps cross the floor. If he reads, the boy will be safe. Alas, that's the one? That'll do. Little Jilly, you love me, right? Alas, this immense wealth, this gilded splendor, this profusion of luxury, this exemption from toil, this life of ease, this sea of plenty, were not the pearly gates they seemed. You're my pearly gate girl. The poor slave on his hard pine plank, scantily covered with his thin blanket, slept more soundly than the feverish voluptuary who reclined upon his downy pillow. Food to the indolent is poison, not sustenance. Lurking beneath the rich and tempting viands were visible spirits of evil which filled the self-deluded gourmandizer with aches and pains, passions uncontrollable, fierce tempers, dyspepsia, rheumatism, lumbago, and gout, and of these the Lloyds had a full share. Beyond the edge of the page, Skeeter and Jill are wrestling. In gray flashes her underpants, her breasts are exposed. Another flash Rabbit sees is her smile, her small gray teeth bare in silent laughter. She is liking it, being raped. Seeing him spying, Jill starts, struggles angrily out from under, hugs the rags of her dress around her, and runs from the room. Her footsteps flicker up the stairs. Skeeter blinks at her flight. He resettles the great pillow of his head with a sigh. Beautiful is the sigh. One more, Chuck. Read me the one where he fights back. His brown chest melts into the beige sofa. Its air foam is covered in a plaid of green and tan and red that have rubbed and faded to a single shade hardly worth naming. You know, I gotta get up and go to work tomorrow. You worried about your little dolly? Don't you worry about that. The thing about a cunt, man, it's just like a Kleenex. You use it and throw it away. Hearing silence, he says, I'm just kidding, right? To get your goat, okay? Come on, let's put it back together. The next paper clip. Trouble with you, man, you're all the time married. Women don't like a man who's nothing but married. They want some soul that keeps them guessing, right? Woman stops guessing, she's dead. Rabbit sits on the silver thread chair to read. Whence came the daring spirit necessary to grapple with a man who, 48 hours before, could, with the slightest word, have made me tremble like a leaf in a storm? I do not know. At any rate, I was resolved to fight, and what was better still, I actually was hard at it. The fighting madness had come upon me, and I found my strong fingers firmly attached to the throat of the tyrant, as heedless of consequences at the moment as if we stood equals before the law. The very color of the man was forgotten. I felt supple as a cat, and was ready for him at every turn. Every blow of his was parried, though I dealt no blows in return. I was strictly on the defensive, preventing him from injuring me, rather than trying to injure him. I flung him on the ground several times when he meant to have hurled me there. I held him so firmly by the throat that his blood followed my nails. He held me, and I held him. Oh, I love it. It grabs me. It kills me, Skeeter says, and he gets up on one elbow so his body confronts the other man's. Do me one more, just one more bit. I gotta get upstairs. Skip a couple pages. Go to the place I marked with double lines. Why don't you read it to yourself? It's not the same, right? Doing it to yourself. Every school kid knows that. It's not the same. Come on, Chuck. I've been pretty good, right? I ain't caused no trouble. I've been a faithful Tom. Give the Tom a bone. Read it like I say. I'm going to take off all my clothes. I want to hear it with my pores. Sing it, man. Do it. Begin up a little, where it goes, a man without force. He prompts again, a man without force, and is fussing with his belt buckle. A man without force, Rabbit intently reads, is without the essential dignity of humanity. Human nature is so constituted that it cannot honor a helpless man, though it can pity him, and even this it cannot do long if signs of power do not arise. Yes, Skeeter says, and the blur of him is scuffling and slithering, and a patch of white flashes from the sofa above the white of the printed page. He can only understand, Rabbit reads, finding the words huge, each one a black barrel his voice echoes in, the effect of this combat on my spirit, who has himself incurred something or hazarded something in repelling the unjust and cruel aggressions of a tyrant. Covey was a tyrant, and a cowardly one withal. After resisting him, I felt as I had never felt before. Yes, Skeeter's voice calls from the abyss of the unseen beyond the rectangular island of the page. It was a resurrection from the dark and pestiferous tomb of slavery to the heaven of comparative freedom. I was no longer a servile coward, trembling under the frown of a brother worm of the dust, but my long-cowed spirit was roused to an attitude of independence. I had reached a point at which I was not afraid to die. Emphasis. Oh, yes, yes. This spirit made me a free man in fact, though I still remained a slave in form. When a slave cannot be flogged, he is more than half free. Amen. He has a domain as broad as his own manly heart to defend, and he is really a power on earth. Say it. Say it. From this time until my escape from slavery, I was never fairly whipped. Several attempts were made, but they were always unsuccessful. Bruised I did get, but the instance I have described was the end of the brutification to which slavery had subjected me. Oh, you do make one lovely nigger, Skeeter sings. Lifting his eyes from the page, Rabbit sees there is no longer a patch of white on the sofa. It is solidly dark, only moving in a whispering rhythm that wants to suck him forward. His eyes do not dare follow down to the hand the live line of reflected light lying the length of Skeeter's rhythmic arm, long as an eel feeding. Rabbit stands and strides from the room, dropping the book as if hot, though the burning eyes of the stippled Negro on the cover are quick to follow him across the hard carpet, up the varnished stairs into the white realm where an overhead frosted fixture burns on the landing. His heart skips. He has escaped, narrowly. Light from the driftwood lamp downstairs floods the little maple from underneath, its leaves red like your fingers on a flashlight face. Its turning head half fills their bedroom window. In bed, Jill turns to him, pale and chill as ice. "Hold me," she says. "Hold me, hold me, hold me." So often and level it frightens him. Women are crazy. They contain this ancient craziness. He is holding wind in his arms. He feels she wants to be fucked anyway, without pleasure, but to pin her down. He would like to do this for her, but he cannot pierce the fright, the disgust between them. She is a mermaid gesturing beneath the skin of the water. He is floating rigid to keep himself from sinking in terror. The book he has read aloud torments him with a vision of bottomless squalor, of dead generations, of buried tortures and lost reasons. Rising, working, there is no reason any more, no reason for anything, no reason why not. Nothing to breathe but a sour gas bottled in empty churches. Nothing to rise by. He lives in a tight well whose dank sides squeeze and paralyze him. No, it is Jill, tight against him, trying to get warm, though the night is hot. He asks her, "Can you sleep?" "No, everything is crashing." "Let's try. It's late. Shall I get another blanket?" "Don't leave me even for a second. I'll fall through." "I'll turn my back. Then you can hug me." Downstairs, Skeeter flicks the light off. Outside, the little maple vanishes like a blown-out flame. Within himself, Rabbit completes his motion into darkness, into the rhythmic brown of the sofa. Then terror returns and squeezes him shut like an eyelid. Her voice sounds tired and wary, answering. "Brewer Fealty, Mrs. Fasnacht, may I help you?" "Peggy? Hi, it's Harry Angstrom. So it is. A new sarcastic note. I don't believe it. Overexpressive. Too many men. Hey, remember you said about Nelson and Billy going fishing this Sunday and inviting me for Saturday dinner? Yes, Harry, I do remember. Is it too late for me to accept? Not at all. What's brought this about? Nothing special, just thought it might be nice. It will be nice. I'll see you Saturday. Tomorrow, he clarifies. He would have talked on. It was his lunch hour, but she cuts the conversation short. Press of work. Don't count your chickens. After work, as he walks home from the bus stop on Weiser, two men accost him at the corner where Emberley Avenue becomes a drive, beside a red, white, and blue mailbox. Mr. Angstrom? Sure. Might we talk to you a minute? We're two of your neighbors. The man speaking is between 40 and 50, plump, in a gray suit that has stretched to fit him with those narrow lapels of 5 years ago. His face is soft, but pained, a hard little hook nose at odds with the puffy patches below his eyes. His chin is two damp knobs set side by side, between them a dimple where the whiskers hide from the razor. He has that yellow brewer tint and an agile, sly, white-collar air, an accountant, a schoolteacher. My name is Marlon Showalter. I live on the other side of Vista Crescent, the house you probably noticed with the new addition in back we added on last summer. Oh, yeah. He recalls distant hammering, but had not noticed. He really only looks at Penn Villas enough to see that it isn't Mount Judge. That is, it is nowhere. I'm in computers, the hardware end, Showalter says. Here's my card. As Rabbit glances at the company name on it, Showalter says, We're going to revolutionize business in this town. File that name in your memory. This here is Eddie Boombrock. He lives around the further crescent, Marigold, up from you. Eddie presents no card. He is black-haired, shorter and younger than Harry. He stands the way guys in the Army used to, all buttoned in, shoulders tucked back, an itch for a fight between their shoulder blades. Only in part because of his brush cut, his head looks flattened on top, like the heads on Rabbit's television set. When he shakes hands, it reminds him of somebody else. Who? One side of Brumback's face has had a piece of jawbone removed, leaving a dent and an L-shaped red scar. Gray eyes like dulled tool tips. He says with ominous simplicity, Yes, sir. Showalter says, Eddie works in the assembly shop over at Fessler Steel. You guys must have quit work early today, Rabbit says. Eddie tells him, I'm on night shift this month. Showalter has a way of bending, as if dance music is playing far away, and he wants to cut in between Rabbit and Eddie. He is saying, We made a decision to talk to you. We appreciate your patience. This is my car here. Would you like to sit in it? It's not too comfortable standing out like this. The car is a Toyota. It reminds Harry of his father-in-law, and gets a whole set of uneasy feelings sliding. I'd just as soon stand, he says, if it won't take long, and leans on the mailbox to make himself less tall above these men. It won't take long, Eddie Brumback promises, hitching his shoulders and coming a crisp step closer. Showalter dips his shoulder again, as if to intervene, looks sadder around the eyes, wipes his soft mouth. Well, no, it needn't. We don't mean to be unfriendly. We just have a few questions. Friendly questions, Rabbit clarifies, anxious to help this man, whose careful, slow voice is pure brewer, who seems like the city, bland and broad and kind, and for the time being, depressed. Now, some of us, Showalter goes on, were discussing, the neighborhood. Some of the kids have been telling us stories, about what they see in your windows. They've been looking in my windows? The mailbox blue is hot. He stops leaning and stands. Though it is October, the sidewalk reflects flinty, and a translucent irritability rests upon the pastel asphalt rooftops. The spindly young trees, the low houses like puzzles assembled of wood and cement and brick and fake fieldstone siding. He is trying to look through these houses to his own, to protect it. Brumbach bristles, thrusts himself into Rabbit's attention. They haven't had to look in any windows. They've had what's going on pushed under their noses, and it don't smell good. Showalter intervenes, his voice wheedling like a woman's, buttering over. No, now, that's putting it too strong. But it's true, I guess. There hasn't been any particular secret. They've been coming and going in that little Porsche right along, and I notice now he plays basketball with the boy right out front. He? The black fellow you have living with you, Showalter says, smiling as if the snag in their conversation has been discovered and all will be clear sailing now. And the white girl, Brumbach adds. My younger boy came home the other day and said he saw them screwing right on the downstairs rug. Well, Rabbit says, stalling. He feels absurdly taller than these men. He feels he might float away while trying to make out the details of what the boy had seen. A little framed rectangle hung in his head like a picture too high on the wall. That's the kind of thing you see when you look in other people's windows. Brumbach steps neatly in front of Showalter, and Rabbit remembers who his handshake had been reminiscent of. The doctor giving Mom the new pills. I twist bodies to my will. I am life. I am death. Listen, brother. We're trying to raise children in this neighborhood. Me too. And that's something else. What kind of pervert are you bringing up there? I feel sorry for the boy. It's the fact, I do. But what about the rest of us who are trying to do the best we can? This is a decent white neighborhood, he says, hitting decent weakly, but gathering strength for, that's why we live here instead of across the river over in Brewer where they're letting them run wild. Letting who run wild? You know fucking well who. Read the papers. These old ladies can't even go outdoors in broad daylight with a pocketbook. Showalter, supple, worried, sidles around and intrudes himself. White neighborhood isn't exactly the point. We'd welcome a self-respecting black family. I went to school with blacks, and I'd work right beside one any day of the week. In fact, my company has a recruitment program. The trouble is, their own leaders tell them not to bother, tell them it's a sellout, to learn how to make an honest living. This speech has slid further than he had intended. He hauls it back. If he acts like a man, I'll treat him like a man. Am I way out of line on that, Eddie? Brumbach puffs up so his shirt pocket tightens on his cigarette pack. His forearms bend at his sides as if under the pull of their veins. I fought beside them in Vietnam, he says. No problems. Hey, that's funny, you're a Viet veteran too. This guy we're kind of talking about. No problems, Brumbach goes on. Because we all knew the rules. Showalter's hands glide, flutter, touch his narrow lapels in a double downward caress. It's the girl and the black together, he says quickly, to touch it and get away. Brumbach says, Christ, these boogs love white ass. You should have seen what went on around the bases. Rabbit offers, that was yellow ass, wasn't it? Showalter tugs at his arm and takes him aside, some steps from the mailbox. Harry wonders if anybody ever mails a letter in it. He passes it every day, and it seems mysterious as a fire hydrant, waiting for its moment that may never come. He never hears it clang. In Mount Judge, people were always mailing valentines. Showalter says, Don't keep riding him. Rabbit calls over to Brumbach, I'm not riding you, am I? Showalter tugs harder, so Harry has to bend his ear to the man's little beak and soft, unhappy mouth. He's not that stable. He feels very threatened. It wasn't my idea to get after you. I said to him, the man has his rights of privacy. Rabbit tries to play the game, whispers, How many more in the neighborhood feel like him? More than you'd think. I was surprised myself. These are reasonable, good people, but they have blind spots. I believe if they didn't have children, if this wasn't a children's neighborhood, it'd be more live and let live. But Rabbit worries they are being rude to Brumbach. He calls over, Hey, Eddie, I tell you what. Brumbach is not pleased to be called in. He had wanted Showalter to settle. Rabbit sees the structure. One man is the negotiations, the other is the muscle. An age of specialization and collusion. Brumbach barks, "What? I'll keep my kid from looking in your windows, and you keep yours from looking in mine. We had a name over there for guys like you. Wise ass. Sometimes just by mistake they got fragged." "I'll tell you what else," Rabbit says. "As a bonus, I'll try to remember to draw the curtains." "You better do fucking more than pull the fucking curtains," Brumbach tells him. "You better fucking barricade the whole place." Out of nowhere, a mail truck, red, white, and blue, with a canted windshield, like a display case, squeaks to a stop at the curb. Hurriedly, not looking at any of them, a small man in gray unlocks the mailbox front and scoops a torrent, hundreds, it seems, of letters into a gray sack, locks it shut, and drives away. Rabbit goes close to Brumbach. "Tell me what you want. You want me to move out of the neighborhood? I want you to move the black out. It's him and the girl together you don't like. Suppose he stays and the girl goes. The black goes. He goes when he stops being my guest. Have a nice supper." "You've been warned." Rabbit asks Showalter, "You hear that threat?" Showalter smiles. He wipes his brow. He is less depressed. He has done what he could. "I told you," he says, "not to ride him. We came to you in all politeness. I want to repeat, it's the circumstances of what's going on, not the color of anybody's skin. There's a house vacant abutting me, and I told the realtor, I said as plain as I say to you, any colored family with a husband in the house can get up the equity to buy it at the going market price. Let them have it, by all means, by all means." "It's nice to meet a liberal," Rabbit says, and shakes his hand. "My wife keeps telling me I'm a conservative." And because he likes him, because he likes anybody who fought in Vietnam, where he himself should have been fighting, had he not been too old and fat and cowardly, he offers to shake Brumbach's hand too. The cocky little man keeps his arms stiff at his sides. Instead, he turns his head so the ruined jaw shows. The scar is not just a red L, Rabbit sees. It is an ampersand, complicated by white lines where skin was sewn and overlapped to repair a hole that would always repel eyes. Rabbit makes himself look at it. Brumbach's voice is less explosive, almost regretful, sad in its steadiness. "I earned this face," he says. "I got it over there so I could have a decent life here. I'm not asking for sympathy. A lot of my buddies made out worse. I'm just letting you know, after what I seen and done, no wise ass is crowding me in my own neighborhood." Inside the house it is too quiet. The television isn't going. Nelson is doing homework at the kitchen table. No, he is reading one of Skeeter's books. He has not gotten very far. Rabbit asks, "Where are they?" "Sleeping, upstairs, together. I think Jill's on your bed, Skeeter's in mine. He says the sofa stinks. He was awake when I got back from school." "How did he seem?" Though the question touches a new vein, Nelson answers promptly. For all the shadows between them, they have lately grown toward each other, father and son. "Jumpy," he answers into the book. "Said he was getting bad vibes lately and hadn't slept at all last night. I think he had taken some pills or something. He didn't seem to see me, looking over my head kind of, and kept calling me Chuck instead of Baby Chuck." "And how's Jill?" "Dead asleep. I looked in and said her name and she didn't move." "Dad," spit it out, "he gives her things." The thought is too deep in him to get out easily. His eyes sink in after it, and his father feels him digging, shy, afraid, lacking the right words, not wanting to offend his father. Harry prompts, "Things?" The boy rushes into it. "She never laughs anymore, or takes any interest in anything, just sits around and sleeps. Have you looked at her skin, Dad? She's gotten so pale." "She's naturally fair." "Yeah, I know, but it's more than that. She looks sick, Dad. She doesn't eat hardly anything and throws up sometimes anyway. Dad, don't let him keep doing it to her, whatever it is. Stop him." "How can I?" "You can kick him out." Jill said she'll go with him. She won't. She hates him too. Don't you like Skeeter? Not really. I know I should. I know you do. Do I? Surprised, he promises Nelson, I'll talk to him. But, you know, people aren't property. I can't control what they want to do together. We can't live Jill's life for her. We could, if you wanted to, if you cared at all. This is as close as Nelson has come to defiance. Rabbit's instinct is to be gentle with this sprouting, to ignore it. He points out simply, she's too old to adopt, and you're too young to marry. The child frowns down into the book, silent. Now tell me something. Okay. Nelson's face tenses, prepared to close. He expects to be asked about Jill and sex and himself. Rabbit is glad to disappoint him, to give him a little space here. 2 men stopped me on the way home and said kids had been looking in our windows. Have you heard anything about this? Sure. Sure what? Sure they do. Who? All of them. Frank Hauser and that slob Jimmy Brumbach, Evelyn Morris and those friends of hers from Penn Park, Mark Showalter and I guess his sister Marilyn, though she's awful little. When the hell do they do this? Different times. When they come home from school and I'm at soccer practice before you get home, I hang around out front. I guess sometimes they come back after dark. They see anything? I guess, sometimes. They talk to you about it? Do they tease you? I guess, sometimes. You poor kid. What do you tell him? I tell him to fuck off. Hey, watch your language. That's what I tell him, you asked. And do you have to fight? Not much. Just sometimes when they call me something. What? Something. Never mind, Dad. Tell me what they call you. Nigger Nellie. Nice kids. They're just kids, Dad. They don't mean anything. Jill says ignore them. They're ignorant. This book is... They're just kids, Dad. They don't mean anything. Jill says ignore them. They're ignorant. And do they kid you about Jill? The boy turns his face away altogether. His hair covers his neck. Yet even from the back he would not be mistaken for a girl. The angles in the shoulders, the lack of brushing in the hair. The choked voice comes, I don't want to talk about it anymore, Dad. Okay, thanks. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to live in the mess we all make. Surprisingly, the choked voice resumes, Gee, I wish Mom would come back. Jesus, but I wish it. Nelson thumps the back of the kitchen chair and then rests his forehead where his fist struck. Rabbit ruffles his hair helplessly on his way past to the refrigerator to get a beer. The nights close in earlier now. After the 6 o'clock news, there is darkness. Rabbit says to Skeeter, I met another veteran from Vietnam today. Shit, the world's filling up with Vietnam veterans so fast there won't be nobody else soon, right? Never forget. Got into a lighthouse up near Tui Hoa. White walls all over. Everybody been there one time or another and done their drawings. Well, what blew my mind, absolutely, was somebody, Charlie or the Unfriendlies, Arvin never been near this place till we handed it to him, somebody on that other side had done a whole wall's worth of Uncle Ho himself. Uncle Ho being buggered, Uncle Ho shitting skulls, Uncle Ho doing this and that. It was downright disrespectful, right? And I says to myself, those poor dinks being screwed the same as us. We is all in the grip of crazy old men thinking they can still make history happen. History isn't going to happen anymore, Chuck. What is going to happen? Nelson asks. A bad mess, Skeeter answers. Then, most probably, me. Nelson's eyes seek his father's, as they do now when Skeeter's craziness shows. Dad, shouldn't we wake up Jill? Harry is into his second beer and his first joint. His stockinged feet are up on the cobbler's bench. Why? Let her sleep. Don't be so uptight. No, sir, Skeeter says. The boy has a good plan there. Where is that fucking little Jill? I do feel horny. Nelson asks, What's horny? Horny is what I feel, Skeeter answers. Baby Chuck, go drag down that no-good cunt. Tell her the menfolk needs their victuals. Dad, come on, Nellie, quit nagging. Do what he asks. Don't you have any homework? Do it upstairs. This is a grown-up evening. When Nelson is gone, Rabbit can't breathe. Skeeter, one thing I don't understand. How do you feel about the Kong? I mean, are they right or wrong or what? Man by man, or should I say gook by gook, they are very beautiful, truly. So brave they must be trippin', and a lot of them no older than little Nellie, right? As a bunch, I never could dig what they was all about, except that we was white, or black, as the case may be, and they was yellow, and it got there first, right? Otherwise, I can't say they made a great deal of sense, since the people they most liked to castrate and string up and bury in ditches alive and make that kind of scene with was yellow like them, right? So I would consider them one more facet of the confusion of false prophecy by which you may recognize my coming in this the fullness of time. However, I confess that politics being part of this boring power thing do not much turn me on. Things human turn me on, right? You too, right, Chuck? Here she is. Jill has drifted in. Her skin looks tight on her face. Rabbit asks her, "Hungry? Make yourself a peanut butter sandwich." That's what we had to do. I'm not hungry. Trying to be Skeeter, Rabbit goads her. Christ, you should be. You're skinny as a stick. What the hell kind of piece of ass are you? There's nothing there anymore. Why you think we keep you here? She ignores him and speaks to Skeeter. I'm in need, she tells him. Shit, girl, we're all in need, right? The whole world's in need. Isn't that what we done agreed on, Chuck? The whole benighted world is in need of me. And me, I'm in need of something else. Bring your cunt over here, white girl. Now she does look toward Rabbit. He cannot help her. She has always been out of his class. She sits down on the sofa beside Skeeter and asks him gently, What? If I do it, will you do it? Might. Tell you what, Jill, honey, let's do it for the man. What man? The man. That man. Victor Charlie over there. He wants it. What you think he's keeping us here for? To breed, that's what for. Hey, friend Harry? I'm listening. You like being a nigger, don't you? I do. You want to be a good nigger, right? Right. The sad rustling on the ceiling of Nelson in his room feels far distant. Don't come down. Stay up there. The smoke mixes with his veins, and his lungs are a branching tree. Okay, Skeeter says. Now here's how. You is a big black man sitting right there. You is chained to that chair. And I is white as snow. Behold. And Skeeter, with that electric scuttling suddenness, stands and pulls off his shirt. In the room's deep dusk, his upper half disappears. Then he scrabbles at himself at belt level, and his lower half disappears. Only his glasses remain, silver circles. His voice disembodied is the darkness. Slowly his head, a round cloud, tells against the blue light from the street lamp at the end of the crescent. And this little girl here, he calls, is black as coal, an ebony virgin torn from the valley of the river Niger, right? Stand up, honey. Show us your teeth. Turn clean around. The black shadows of his hands glide into the white blur Jill is, and guide it upward, as a potter guides a lump of clay upward on the humming wheel into a vase. She keeps rising, smoke from the vase. Her dress is being lifted over her head. Turn around, honey. Show us your rump. A soft slap gilds the darkness. The whiteness revolves. Rabbit's eyes, enlarged, can sift out shades of light and dark, can begin to model the bodies 6 feet from him across the cobbler's bench. He can see the dark crack between Jill's buttocks, the faint dent her hip muscle makes, the shadowy mane between her starved cheek hip bones. Her belly looks long. Where her breasts should be, black spiders are fighting. He sorts these out as Skeeter's hands. Skeeter is whispering to Jill, murmuring, while his hands flutter like bats against the moon. He hears her say in a voice sifted through her hair a sentence with the word satisfy in it. Skeeter cackles, forked lightning. Now, he sings, and his voice has become golden hoops spinning forward, an auctioneer who is a juggler. We will have a demonstration of obedience from this little coal-black lady who has been broken in by expert traders working out of Nashville, Tennessee, and who is guaranteed by them absolutely to give no trouble in the kitchen, hallway, stable, or bedroom. Another soft slap, and the white clay dwindles. Jill is kneeling while Skeeter still stands. A most delicate, slipping, silvery sound touches up the silence now, but Rabbit cannot precisely see. He needs to see. The driftwood lamp is behind him. Not turning his head, he gropes and switches it on. Nice. What he sees reminds him in the first flash of the printing process, an inked plate contiguous at some few points to white paper. As his eyes adjust, he sees Skeeter is not black, he is a gentle brown. These are smooth-skinned children being gently punished, one being made to stand and the other to kneel. Skeeter crouches and reaches down a long hand, fingernails like baby rose petals, to shield Jill's profile from the glare. Her eyelids remain closed. Her mouth remains open. Her breasts cast no shadow, they are so shallow. She is feminine most in the swell of her backside, spread on her propping heels, and in the white lily of a hand floating beside his balls as if to receive from the air a baton. An inch or two of Skeeter is unenclosed by her face, a purplish inch bleached to lilac below his metallic pubic explosion, the shape and texture of his goatee. Keeping his protective crouch, Skeeter turns his face sheepishly toward the light. His eyeglasses glare opaquely, and his upper lip lifts in imitation of pain. "Hey, man, what's with that? Cut that light." "You're beautiful," Rabbit says. "Okay, strip and get into it. She's full of holes, right?" "I'm scared to," Rabbit confesses. It is true. They seem not only beautiful, but in the same vision an interlocked machine that might pull him apart. Though the slap of light left her numb, this confession pierces Jill's trance. She turns her head, Skeeter's penis falling free, a bright string of moisture breaking. She looks at Harry, past him. As he reaches to switch off the light mercifully, she screams. In the corner of his vision, he saw it too. A face. At the window. Eyes like two cigarette burns. The lamp is out, the face is vanished, the window is a faintly blue rectangle in a black room. Rabbit runs to the front door and opens it. The night air bites. October. The lawn looks artificial, lifeless, dry, no color, a snapshot of grass. Vista Crescent stretches empty but for parked cars. The maple is too slender to hide anyone. A child might have made it across the front of the house along the flower beds and be now in the garage. The garage door is up, and if the child is Nelson, a door from the garage leads into the kitchen. Rabbit decides not to look, not to give chase. He feels that there is no space for him to step into, that the vista before him is a flat, stiff, cold photograph. The only thing that moves is the vapor of his breathing. He closes the door. He hears nothing move in the kitchen. He tells the living room, nobody. "Bad," Skeeter says. His penis is quite relaxed, a whip between his legs as he squats. Jill is weeping on the floor. Face down, she has curled her naked body into a knot. Her bottom forms the top half of a valentine heart, only white. Her flesh-colored hair fans, spills over the sullen green carpet. Rabbit and Skeeter together squat to pick her up. She fights it. She makes herself roll over limply. Her hair streams across her face, clouds her mouth, adheres like cobwebs to her chin and throat. A string as of milkweed spittle is on her chin. Rabbit wipes her chin and mouth with his handkerchief, and for weeks afterward, when all is lost, will take out this handkerchief and bury his nose in it. in its imperceptible, spicy smell. Jill's lips are moving. She is saying, "You promised! You promised!" She is talking to Skeeter. The rabbit bends his big face over hers. She has eyes only for the narrow black face beside him. There is no green in her eyes. The black pupils have eclipsed the irises. "It's such dumb hell," she says with a little whimper, as if to mock her own complaint. A Connecticut housewife who knows she exaggerates. "Oh, Christ," she adds in an older voice and shuts her eyes. Rabbit touches her. She is sweating. At his touch, she starts to shiver. He wants to blanket her with his body if there is nothing else, but she will talk only to Skeeter. Rabbit is not there for her. He only thinks he is here. Skeeter asks down into her, "Who's your Lord Jesus, Jill, honey?" "You are." "I am, right?" "Right." "You love me more'n you love yourself?" "Much more." "What do you see when you look at me, Jill, honey?" "I don't know." "You see a giant lily, right?" "Right." "You promised." "Love my cock?" "Yes." "Love my jism, sweet Jill? Love it in your veins?" "Yes, please. Shoot me. You promised." "I your savior, right?" "Right?" "You promised. You must, Skeeter." "Okay, tell me I'm your savior." "You are. Hurry. You did promise." "Okay," Skeeter explains hurriedly. "I'll fix her up. You go upstairs, Chuck. I don't want you to see this." "I want to see it. Not this. It's bad, man. Bad, bad, bad. It's shit. Stay clean. You in deep trouble enough on account of me without being party to this, right? Split. I'm begging, man." Rabbit understands. They are at war. They have taken a hostage. Everywhere out there are unfriendlies. He checks the front door, staying down below the 3 windows echoing the 3 chime tones. He sneaks into the kitchen. Nobody is there. He slips the bolt across in the door that opens from the garage. Sidling to make his shadow narrow, he climbs upstairs. At Nelson's door, he listens for the sound of unconscious breathing. He hears the boy's breath rasp, touching bottom. In his own bedroom, the street lamp prints negative spatters of the maple leaves on his wallpaper. He gets into bed in his underwear, in case he must rise and run. As a child, in summer, he would have to sleep in his underwear when the wash hadn't dried on the line. Rabbit listens to the noises downstairs, clicking, clucking kitchen noises, of a pan being put on the stove, of a bit of glass clinking, of footsteps across the linoleum, the sounds that have always made him sleepy, of Mom up, of the world being tended to. His thoughts begin to dissolve, though his heart keeps pounding, waves breaking on Jill's white valentine, stamped on his retinas like the sun. Offset versus letterpress. Offset never has the bite of the other, looks greasy, the wave of the future. She slips into bed beside him. Her valentine nestles cool against his belly and silken, limp cock. He has been asleep. He asks her, "Is it late?" Jill speaks very slowly. "Pretty late." "How do you feel?" "Better, for now." "We got to get you to a doctor." "It won't help." He has a better idea, so obvious he cannot imagine why he has never thought of it before. "We got to get you back to your father." "You forget he's dead." "Your mother, then?" "The car's dead." "We'll get it out of hock." "It's too late," Jill tells him. "It's too late for you to try to love me." He wants to answer, but there is a puzzling, heavy truth in this that carries him under. His hand caressing the inward dip of her waist, a warm bird dipping toward its nest. Sunshine, the old clown, rims the room. The maple has so many leaves fallen, morning light slants in baldly. A headache grazes his skull. His dream, Payasek and he were in a canoe paddling upstream through a dark green country, their destination felt to be a distant mountain, striped and folded like a tablecloth. "When can I have my silver bullet?" Rabbit asked him. "You promised." "Fool," Payasek told him. "Stupid." "You know so much more," Rabbit answered nonsensically, and his heart opened in a flood of light. "Merges with the night before. both unreal. Jill sleeps dewily beside him. At the base of her throat, along her hairline, sweat has collected and glistens. Delicately, not to disturb her, he takes her wrist and turns it so he can see the inside of her freckled arm. They might be bee stings. There are not too many. He can talk to Janice. Then he remembers that Janice is not here, and that only Nelson is their child. He eases from the bed, amused to discover himself in underwear, like a kid at camp whose pajamas have been knotted and soaked. After breakfast, while Jill and Skeeter sleep, he and Nelson rake and mow the lawn, putting it to bed for the winter. He hopes this will be the last mowing, though in fact the grass, parched in high spots, is vigorously green where a depression holds moisture, and along a line from the kitchen to the street. Perhaps the sewer connection is broken and seeping. That is why it flows sluggishly. And the leaves, he calls to Nelson, who has to shut off the razzing mower to listen. How the hell does such a skinny little tree produce so many leaves? They aren't all its leaves. They blow in from the other trees. And he looks and sees that his neighbors have trees, saplings like his, but some already as tall as the housetops. Someday Nelson may come back to this, his childhood neighborhood, and find it strangely dark, buried in shade, the lawns opulent, the homes venerable. Rabbit hears children calling in other yards and sees across several fences and driveways kids having a Saturday scrimmage, one voice piping, "I'm free, I'm free," and the ball obediently floating. This isn't a bad neighborhood, he thinks. This could be a nice place if you gave it a chance. And around the other houses, men with rakes and mowers mirror him. He asks Nelson, before the boy restarts the mower, "Aren't you going to visit your mother today?" "Tomorrow. Today she and Charlie were driving up to the Poconos to look at the foliage. They went with some brother of Charlie's and his wife. Boy, she's moving right in. A real Springer." He smiles to himself, perversely proud. The legal stationery must be on the way, and then him. Yes, he can join that army of brewer geezers. Human garbage, Pop used to say. He better enjoy Vista Crescent while he has it. He resumes raking and listens for the mower's razzing to resume. Instead, there is the lurch and rattle of the starter, repeated, and Nelson's voice calling, "Hey, Dad, I think it's out of gas." A Saturday, then, of small, sunlit tasks, acts of caretaking and commerce. He and Nelson stroll with the empty 5-gallon can up to Weiser and get it filled at the Getty station. Returning, they meet Jill and Skeeter emerging from the house, dressed to kill. Skeeter wears stovepipe pants, alligator shoes, a maroon turtleneck, and a peach-colored cardigan. He looks like the newest thing in golf pros. Jill has on her white dress and a brown sweater of Harry's. She suggests a cheerleader, off to the noon pep rally before the football game. Her face, though thin, and the skin of it thin and brittle like isinglass, has a pink flush. She seems excited, affectionate. "There's some salami and lettuce in the fridge for you and Nelson to make lunch with if you want. Skeeter and I are going into Brewer to see what we can do about this wretched car, and we thought we might drop in on Babe. We'll be back late this after. Maybe you should go visit your mother this afternoon. I feel guilty you never do." "Okay, I might. You okay?" To Skeeter, "You have car fare?" In his clothes, Skeeter puts on a dandy's accent. He thrusts out his goatee and says between scarcely parted teeth, "Jilly is loaded, and if we run short, your name is good credit, right?" Rabbit tries to recall the naked man of last night, the dangling penis, the jutting heels, the squat as by a jungle fire, and cannot. It was another terrain. Serious, a daylight man, he scolds, "You better get back before Nelson and I go out around 6. I don't want to leave the house empty." He drops his voice so Nelson won't hear. "After last night, I'm kind of spooked." "What happened last night?" Skeeter asks. "Nothing spooky that I can remember. We's all just folks, living out life in these benighted states." He has put on all his armor. Nothing will get to him. Rabbit tests it. "You're a bad nigger." Skeeter smiles in the sunshine with angelic rows of teeth. His spectacles toss halos higher than the TV aerials. "Now you're singing my song," he says. Rabbit asks Jill, "You okay with this crazy man?" She says lightly, "He's my sugar daddy," and puts her arm through his, and linked like that, they recede down Vista Crescent and vanish in the shuffle of picture windows. Rabbit and Nelson finish the lawn. They eat and toss a football around for a while, and then the boy asks if he can go off and join the scrimmage, whose shouts they can hear. He knows some of the kids, the same kids who look into windows, but that's okay, Dad. And really, it does feel as though all can be forgiven. All will sink into Saturday's America like rain into earth, like days into time. Rabbit goes into the house and watches the first game of the World Series, Baltimore outclassing the Mets for a while, and switches to Penn State outclassing West Virginia at football, and, unable to sit still any longer with a bubble of premonition swelling inside him, goes to the phone and calls his home. "Hi, Pop. Hey. I thought of coming over this after, but the kid is outside playing a game, and we have to go over to the Fosnocks tonight anyhow. So can she wait until tomorrow? Mom? Also, I ought to get hot on changing the screens around to storm windows. It felt chilly last night." "She can wait, Harry. Your mother does a lot of waiting these days." "Yeah, well," he means it's not his fault. He didn't invent old age. "When is Mim coming in?" "Any day now. We don't know the exact day. She'll just arrive, is how she left it. Her old room is ready." "How's Mom sleeping lately? She still having dreams?" "Strange you should ask, Harry. I always said you and your mother are almost psychic. Her dreams are getting worse. She dreamed last night we buried her alive, you and me and Mim together. She said only Nelson tried to stop it." "Gee, maybe she's warming up to Nelson at last." "And Janice called us this morning." "What about? I'd hate to have Stavros's phone bill." "Difficult to say what about. She had nothing concrete that we could fathom. She just seems to want to keep in touch. I think she's having terrible second thoughts, Harry. She says she's exceedingly worried about you." "I bet." "Your mother and I spent a lot of time discussing her call. You know our Mary. She's never one to admit when she's disturbed. Pop, there's somebody at the door. Tell Mom I'll be over tomorrow. Absolutely." There had been nobody at the door. He had suddenly been unable to keep talking to his father, every word of the old man's dragging with reproach. But having lied frightens him now. Nobody has become an evil presence at the door. Moving through the rooms stealthily, he searches the house for the kit Skeeter must use to fix Jill with. He can picture it from having watched television, the syringe and tourniquet and the long spoon to melt the powder in. The sofa cushions divulge $1 in change, a bent paperback of Soul on Ice, a pearl from an earring or pocketbook. Jill's bureau drawers upstairs conceal nothing under the underwear but a box of Tampax, a pocket of hairpins, a half-full card of Anavid pills, a shy little tube of ointment for acne. The last place he thinks to look is the downstairs closet, fitted into an ill-designed corner beside the useless fireplace, along the wall of stained pine where the seascape hangs Janice bought at Kroll's, complete with frame, one piece, in fact, with its frame, a single-shaped sheet of plastic. Rabbit remembers from hanging it on the nail. In this closet, beneath the polyethylene bags holding their winter clothes, including the mink stole Old Man Springer gave Janice on her 21st birthday, there is a squat black suitcase, smelling new, with a combination lock, packed so Skeeter could grab it and run from the house in 30 seconds. Rabbit fiddles with the lock, trying combinations at random, trusting to God to make a very minor miracle, then, this failing, going at it by system, beginning 111, 112, 113, 114, and then 211, 212, 213, but never hits it, and the practical infinity of numbers opens under him dizzyingly. Some dust in the closet starts him sneezing. He goes outdoors with the Windex bottle for the storm windows. This work soothes him. You slide up the aluminum screen, putting the summer behind you, and squirt the inside window with the blue spray, give it those big square swipes to spread it thin, and apply the tighter rubbing to remove the film, and with it the dirt. It squeaks like bird song. Then slide the winter window down from the slot where it has been waiting since April and repeat the process. And go inside and repeat the process, twice, so that at last 4 flawless transparencies permit outdoors to come indoors, other houses to enter yours. The mirror is two-way. Toward 5 o'clock, Skeeter and Jill return. They are jubilant. Through Babe, they found a man willing to give them $600 for the Porsche. He drove them up county, he examined the car, and Jill signed the registration over to him. What color was he? Rabbit asks. He was green, Skeeter says, showing him $10 bills fanned in his hand, lettuce yellowed by fingering. Rabbit asks Jill, "Why'd you split it with him?" Skeeter says, "I dig hostility. You want your cut right?" His lips push, his glasses glint. Jill laughs it off. "Skeeter's my partner in crime," she says. "You want my advice, what you should do with that money?" Rabbit says. "You should get a train ticket back to Stonington." "The trains don't run anymore. Anyway, I thought I'd buy some new dresses. Aren't you tired of this ratty old white one? I had to pin it up in the front and wear this sweater over it." "It suits you," he says. She takes up the challenge in his tone. "Something bugging you? Just your sloppiness. Would you like me to leave? I could now." His arms go numb, as if injected. His hands feel heavy, his palms tingling, swell. Her nibbling mouth, her apple hardness, the sea fan of her flesh-colored hair on their pillows in the morning light, her white valentine of packed satin. "No," he begs, "don't go yet." "Why not?" "You're under my skin." The phrase feels unnatural on his lips, puffs them like a dry wind in passing. It must have been spoken for Skeeter cackles appreciatively. "Chuck, you're learning to be a loser. I love it. The Lord loves it. Loser's going to grab the earth, right?" Nelson returns from the football game with a bruised upper lip, his smile lopsided and happy. "They give you a hard time?" Rabbit asks. "No, it was fun. Skeeter, you ought to play next Saturday. They asked about you, and I said you used to be a quarterback for Brewer High." "Quarterback shit. I was fullback. I was so small they couldn't find me." "I don't mind being small. It makes you quicker." "Okay," his father says. "See how quick you can take a bath. And for once in your life, brush your hair." Festively, Jill and Skeeter see them off to the Fosnarts. Jill straightens Rabbit's tie. Skeeter dusts his shoulders like a Pullman porter. "Just think, honey," Skeeter says to Jill, "our little boy's all growed up, his first date." "It's just dinner," Rabbit protests. "I'll be back for the 11 o'clock news." "That big honky with the sideways eyes, she may have something planned for dessert." "You stay as late as you want," Jill tells him. "We'll leave the porch light on and won't wait up." "What are you two going to do tonight?" "Just read and knit and sit cozy by the fire," Skeeter tells him. "Her number's in the book, if you need to get a hold of me, under just M." "We won't," Jill tells him. Nelson unexpectedly says, "Skeeter, lock the doors and don't go outside unless you have to." The Negro pats the boy's brushed hair. "Wouldn't dream of it, child. Old Tar Baby, he'd just stay right here in his briar patch." "Dad, we shouldn't go." "Don't be dumb." They go. Orange sunlight stripes with long shadows the spaces of flat lawn between the low houses. As Vista Crescent curves, the sun moves behind them, and Rabbit is struck, seeing their elongated shadows side, by how much like himself Nelson walks. The same loose lope below, the same faintly tense alertness of the head and shoulders above. In shadow, the boy, like himself, is tall as the giant at the top of the beanstalk, treading the sidewalk on telescoping legs. Rabbit turns to speak. Beside him, the boy's overlong black hair bounces as he strides to keep up, lugging his pajamas and toothbrush and change of underwear and sweater in a paper grocery bag for tomorrow's boat ride. Rabbit finds there is nothing to say, just mute love spinning down, love for this extension of himself downward into time when he will be in the grave, love cool as the flame of sunlight burning level among the stick-thin maples and fallen leaves, themselves flames curling. And from Peggy's windows, Brewer glows and dwindles like ashes in a gigantic hearth. The river shines blue long after the shores turn black. There is a puppy in the apartment now, a fuzzy, big-pawed golden that tugs at Rabbit's hand with a slippery, nipping mouth. Its fur, touched, is as surprising in its softness as Fern's. Peggy has remembered he likes daiquiris. This time she has mix, and the electric blender rattles with ice before she brings him his drink, half froth. She has aged a month, a pound or two around her waist, 2 or 3 more gray hairs showing at her parting. She has gathered her hair back in a twist, rather than letting it straggle around her face, as if she were still in high school. Her face looks pushed forward, scrubbed, glossy. She tells him wearily, "Ollie and I may be getting back together." She is wearing a blue dress, secretarial, that suits her more than that paisley that kept riding up her pasty thighs. That's good, isn't it? It's good for Billy. The boys, once Nelson arrived, went down the elevator again to try to repair the mini-bike in the basement. In fact, that's mostly the reason. Ollie is worried about Billy. With me working and not home until dark, he hangs around with that bad crowd up toward the bridge. You know, it's not like when we were young, the temptations they're exposed to. It's not just cigarettes and a little feeling up. At 14 now, they're ready to go. Billy's 14 now? I guess he is, Harry says, brushing froth from his lips and wishing she would come away from the window so he could see all of the sky. I guess they figure they might be dead at 18. Janice says you like the war. I don't like it. I defend it. I wasn't thinking of that. They have a lot of ways to die now we didn't have. Anyway, it's nice about you and Ollie if it works out. A little sad, too. Why sad? Sad for me, I mean. I guess I blew my chance to... To what? To cash you in. Bad phrase, too harsh, though it had been an apology. He has lived with Skeeter too long. But her blankness, the blankness of her silhouette as Peggy stands in her habitual pose against the windows, suggested it. A blank check. A woman is blank until you fuck her. Everything is blank until you fuck it. Us in Vietnam, fucking and being fucked. Blood is wisdom. Must be some better way, but it's not in nature. His silence is leaden with regret. She remains blank some seconds, says nothing. Then she moves into the space around him, turns on lamps, lifts a pillow into place, plumps it, stoops and straightens, turns, takes light upon her sides, is rounded into shape. A lumpy, big woman, but not a fat one, clumsy but not gross, sad with evening, with Ollie or not Ollie, with being 36 and knowing nothing. He and Peggy Gring sat in the same classrooms since first grade. She had seen him when he was good, had sat in those hot bleachers screaming when he was a hero, naked and swift and lean. She has seen him come to nothing. She plumps down in the chair beside his, brushes at the ghost of the hairdo she no longer has, and says, "I've been cashed in a lot lately." "You mean with Ollie?" "Others. Guys I meet at work. Ollie minds. That may be why he wants back in." "If Ollie minds, you must be telling him. So you must want him back in, too." She looks into the bottom of her glass. There is nothing there but ice. "And how about you and Janice?" "Janice who? Let me get you another drink." "Wow, you've become a gentleman." "Slightly." As he puts her gin and tonic into her hand, he says, "Tell me about those other guys." "They're okay. I'm not that proud of them. They're human, I'm human." "You do it but don't fall in love?" "Apparently. Is that terrible?" "No," he says. "I think it's nice." "You think a lot of things are nice lately." "Yeah, I'm not so uptight." The boys come back upstairs. They complain the new headlight they bought doesn't fit. Peggy feeds them a casserole of chicken legs and breasts, poor dismembered creatures simmering. Rabbit wonders how many animals have died to keep his life going. How many more will die? A barnyard full, a farm full of thumping hearts, seeing eyes, racing legs, all stuffed squawking into him, as into a black sack. No avoiding it, life does want death. To be alive is to kill. Dinner inside them, they stuff themselves on television. Jackie Gleason, My Three Sons, Hogan's Heroes, Petticoat Junction, Mannix, an orgy. Nelson is asleep on the floor, radioactive light beating on his closed lids and opened mouth. Rabbit carries him into Billy's room, while Peggy tucks her own son in. "Mom, I'm not sleepy. It's past bedtime. It's Saturday night. You have a big day tomorrow. When is he going home?" He must think Harry has no ears. "When he wants to." "What are you going to do?" "Nothing that's any of your business." "Mom!" "Shall I listen to your prayers?" "When he's out of the room." "You say them to yourself tonight." Harry and Peggy return to the living room and watch the week's news roundup. The weekend commentator is fairer-haired and less severe in expression than the weekday one. He says there has been some good news this week. American deaths in Vietnam were reported the lowest in 3 years, and one 24-hour period saw no American battle deaths at all. The Soviet Union made headlines this week, agreeing with the U.S. to ban atomic weapons from the world's ocean floors, agreeing with Red China to hold talks concerning their sometimes bloody border disputes, and launching Soyuz 6, a linked 3-stage space spectacular, bringing closer the day of permanent space stations. In Washington, Hubert Humphrey endorsed Richard Nixon's handling of the Vietnam War, and Lieutenant General Louis B. Hershey, crusty and controversial head for 28 years of this nation's selective service system, was relieved of his post and promoted to 4-star general. In Chicago, riots outside the courtroom and riotous behavior within continued to characterize the trial of the so-called Chicago Eight. In Belfast, Protestants and British troops clashed. In Prague, Czechoslovakia's revisionist government, in one of its sternest moves, banned citizens from foreign travel. And preparations were underway for tomorrow's Columbus Day parades, despite threatened protests from Scandinavian groups maintaining that Leif Erikson and not Columbus was the discoverer of America, and for Wednesday's Moratorium Day, a nationwide outpouring of peaceful protest. Crap, says Rabbit. Sports, weather. Peggy rises awkwardly from her chair to turn it off. Rabbit rises, also stiff. Great supper, he tells her. I guess I'll get back now. The television off, they stand, rimmed by borrowed light. The bathroom door down the hall, left ajar for the boys, the apartment house corridor, a bright slit beneath the door leading out, the phosphorescence of Brewer through the windows. Peggy's body, transected and rimmed by those remote fires, does not quite fit together. Her arm jerks up from darkness and brushes indifferently at her hair and seems to miss. This book is continued at this point on the other side. Peggy's body, transected and rimmed by those remote fires, does not quite fit together. Her arm jerks up from darkness and brushes indifferently at her hair and seems to miss. She shrugs or shudders, and shadows slip from her. Wouldn't you like, she asks in a voice not quite hers, originating in the dim, charged space between them, and lighter, breathier, to cash me in? Yes, it turns out, yes he would, and they bump and fumble and unzip, and she is gumdrops everywhere, yet stately as a statue, planetary in her breadth, a contour map of some snowy land where he has never been. Not since Ruth has he had a woman this big. Naked, she makes him naked, even kneeling to unlace his shoes, and then kneeling to him in the pose of Jill to Skeeter, so he has glided across a gulf, and stands where last night he stared. He gently unlinks her, lowers her to the floor, and tastes earth, salt swamp between her legs. Her thighs part easily. She grows wet rapidly. She is sadly unclumsy at this. She has indeed been to bed with many men. In the knowing way she handles his prick, he feels their presences, feels himself competing, is put off, goes soft. She leaves off and comes up and presses the gumdrop of her tongue between his lips. Puddled on the floor, they keep knocking skulls and ankle bones on the furniture legs. The puppy, hearing their commotion, thinks they want to play, and thrusts his cold nose and scrabbling paws among their sensitive flesh. His fern-furry, busy bustlingness tickles and hurts. This third animal among them re-excites Rabbit. Observing this, Peggy leads him down her hall, the dark crease between her buttocks snapping tick-tock with her walk. Holding her rumpled dress in front of her like a pad, she pauses at the boy's door, listens, and nods. Her hair has gone loose. The puppy for a while whimpers at their door, claws the floor as if to dig there, then is eclipsed by the inflammation of their senses, falls silent under the thunder of their blood. Harry is afraid, with this unknown woman, of timing her wrong, but she tells him, 1 sec. Him inside her, she does something imperceptible, relaxing and tensing the muscles of her vagina, and announces, now. She comes 1 beat ahead of him, a cool, solid thump of a cum that lets him hit home without fear of hurting her. A fuck innocent of madness. Then slides in that embarrassment of afterwards, of returning discriminations, of the other re-emerging from the muddle, of sorting out what was hers and what was yours, and who gets credit. He hides his face in the hot cave at the side of her neck. Thank you. Thank you yourself, Peggy Fosnock says, and what he doesn't especially like, hugs his bottom to give her 1 more deep thrust before he softens. Both Jill and Janice too ladylike for that. Still, he is at home. Until she says, would you mind rolling off? You're squeezing the breath out of me. Am I so heavy? After a while. Actually, I better go. Why? It's only midnight. I'm worried about what they're doing back at the house. Nelson's here. The others, what do you care? I don't know. I care. Well, they don't care about you, and you're in bed with someone who does. He accuses her. You're taking Ollie back. Have any better ideas? He's the father of my child. Well, that's not my fault. No, nothing's your fault. And she tumbles around him, and they make solid, sadly skillful love again, and they talk, and he dozes a little, and the phone rings. It shrills right beside his ear. A woman's arm, elastic and warm, reaches across his face to pluck it silent. Peggy's. She listens and hands it to him with an expression he cannot read. There is a clock beside the telephone. Its luminous hands say 1:20. Hey, Chuck, better get your ass over here. It's bad. Bad! Skeeter? His throat hurts, just speaking. Fucking Peggy has left him dry. The voice at the other end hangs up. Rabbit kicks out of the bed covers and hunts in the dark for his clothes. He remembers. The living room. The boy's door opens as he runs down the hall naked. Nelson's astonished face takes in his father's nakedness. He asks, was it Mom? Mom? On the phone. Skeeter, something's gone wrong at the house. Should I come? They are in the living room, Rabbit stooping to gather his clothes scattered over the floor, hopping to get into his underpants, his suit pants. The puppy, awake again, dances and nips at him. Better stay. What can it be, Dad? No idea. Maybe the cops. Maybe Jill getting sicker. Why didn't he talk longer? His voice sounded funny. I'm not sure it was our phone. I'm coming with you. I told you to stay here. I must, Dad. Rabbit looks at him and agrees. Okay, I guess you must. Peggy, in blue bathrobe, is in the hall. More lights are on. Billy is up. His pajamas are stained yellow at the fly. He is pimply and tall. Peggy says, shall I get dressed? No, you're great the way you are. Rabbit is having trouble with his tie. His shirt collar has a button in the back that has to be undone to get the tie under. He puts on his coat and stuffs the tie into his pocket. His skin is tingling with the start of sweat, and his penis murmuringly aches. He has forgotten to do the laces of his shoes, and as he kneels to do them, his stomach jams into his throat. How will you get there? Peggy asks. Run, Rabbit answers. Don't be funny, it's 1.5 miles. I'll get dressed and drive you. She must be told she is not his wife. I don't want you to come. Whatever it is, I don't want you and Billy to have to see it. Mom! Billy protests from the doorway. But he is still in stained pajamas, whereas Nelson is dressed, but for bare feet, His sneakers are in his hand. Peggy yields. I'll get you my car keys. It's the blue Mustang, the fourth slot in the line against the wall. Nelson knows. No, Billy, you and I will stay here. Rabbit takes the keys, which come into his hand as cold as if they had been in the refrigerator. Thanks a lot. Or have I said that before?